Here's what I'll say good about Scotty Cameron. When he first got his start, there was a lot to be said for the way that he was machining these putters. He is a skilled machinist. He really makes beautiful putters. They absolutely look wonderful. There is zero technology. There has never been a single element of technology put into his putters. You know, and this is another thing that just is so wild to just watch the general golf consumer go around and round in circles trying to figure out which ping answer style putter they can spend $700 on. It's like, oh, here's a ping answer for $700 that says Bettinardi on it. And here's a ping answer for $2,000 that says Tyson Lamb on it. And here's a ping answer putter that's 19 cents at the Goodwill. And they're all the same. Sure, we got some nicer metals in there that they're working with these days. And now what's particularly infuriating about the craze of these hand-milled ping answers is that they're not hand-milled.
Golf Smarter number 761. You know it's the club's fault. You're a much better putter than you think. With Sam Hahn of Lab Golf.
This is Golf Smarter. Sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, Sam.
Hey, Fred. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for your time and your interest, your generosity, and we'll get into that later. But thank you for a unique putter design. Now, usually I'd go, so tell me about yourself, and we'll get into that later, but I need to get right to this putter. You guys, you have been working with a putter designer, Bill Pressey, and have come up with something radically different that seems to make more sense than many things I've ever heard about putters.
It sure does. It sure does. Yeah, Bill is, you know, what's cool about Bill is that he's just like us. I mean, obviously a much better player than us, but he was an extraordinary ball striker his entire career. He's been in every aspect of the entire business. He's played on mini tours. He's been a club rep. He's worked in stores. He's been an instructor, and you know, like many guys that I certainly know who can hit the ball every bit as good as a tour pro, couldn't really putt so well. And he quite literally stumbled upon something that we all completely ignore, which is that our putter twists. They don't want to stay square. They, you know, the second you pick them up, they try to flop open or flop closed or whatever. They just don't sit square. And it occurred to him that, you know, that ain't right.
And what does that mean? They don't sit square and that they twist. I mean, I can understand if you have a heel shafted putter that if you hit it on the toe, right, it's going to rotate. If you're right hand, it's going to rotate clockwise.
Sure. So I'm not necessarily talking about twisting in the context of contact. I'm talking about twisting in motion. So how many times have we been over a slippery little downhill putt? And, you know, maybe you decel, you know, the whole horrible word decel. You decel on your putter and you lose control of the putter face and it closes or it opens. So You're not physically twisting the putter closed or open, you know, and we've convinced ourselves that we have. But in fact, the putter has a torque properties that are trying from a physics and gravitational standpoint, that putter's trying to do everything except arrive back at the ball square to your target, to where you pointed it. So for those of you that don't know about us, it's very difficult to explain over a podcast, but there's an incredible device called the Revealer. And the Revealer is actually what gave birth to the invention of lie angle balancing. And if you go to labgolf.com, there's a 2-minute video that I do where I demonstrate, you know, from a torque perspective, what a face balance putter is trying to do, what a toe hang putter is trying to do, and what our lie angle balance putters do. And you put most simply, the damn thing stays square by itself. It literally stays square by itself. And all you know, everything we've done in putting has been in an effort to keep a putter face square. And with our putter, the task is to let it stay square.
For the uninitiated, for those who are new to this, and for those who aren't equipment geeks, let's talk about the 3 different types of what you were saying, the face angle, toe, right? And
sure.
Explain what that means on each one.
Yeah. what's really interesting is that this revealer device has thrown a lot of shade at a narrative that virtually everyone that I've ever talked to has bought into. So put most simply, if you lay a putter on a table, on the corner of a table, so it's just resting on the shaft, a face balance putter, the balance is such that the face, if you just lay it so that it's, you're not controlling it at all, the face is pointing straight up towards the sky. So that the face would be parallel to the ground, the shaft is parallel to the ground.
Right.
And according to the narrative, this putter face that points towards the sky is supposed to be best utilized by people who have more of a square stroke, a shallower arc to their stroke, and keep the putter face relatively square to the target throughout the stroke.
Straight back, straight through?
Yeah, straight back, straight through, which doesn't exist, but more straight back and more, and straight through than others. The other side of the spectrum is a toe hang putter, so like an 8802 or a bullseye or a ping answer. These style putters, when you lay them on a table, the toe is going to hang down towards the ground. As the narrative goes, the toe hang putter is going to be better for somebody that has some depth to their arc, meaning that the stroke is a bit more rounded and that the face opens and closes more. Toe hang, you're typically going to see in the hands of the more exceptional putters out there. There's less and less face balance putters out on tour every single week. And particularly with the advent of toe hang mallets, you're seeing more and more toe hang putters. And with those toe hang putters and with those exceptional, super putters that talk about, their technique, all of us have heard about releasing the putter. We've all heard about releasing the toe. Tiger finished his Masters victory and talked for a few minutes about, his putt on 12 and how he really wanted to make sure that he slammed the door shut on that putter face and got it to close. So the reason that he has to do that is because that putter, a toe hang putter, is trying to open very aggressively through impact. From a torque perspective, if you weren't holding on to the putter and it was suspended in midair magically, making a putting stroke on its own, the face is trying to open. So good putters, whether they realize it or not, are able to feel that and consequently react by, quote, releasing the putter or hitting mini draws. I remember I was fortunate enough to spend a minute with Vijay Singh at Bay Hill a couple of years ago. And this was when he was using that, the wand putter, the big, it was a putter designed as a side saddle putter that he was using as a broomstick. And he kept talking about that he was, physically trying to hook the putter. And that's what that's about. You do have to kind of hook the putter or feel like you're hooking the putter if you're going to perform well with a toe hang putter. Now, the revealer device pretty much exploded the theory that one putter is going to be better for one kind of stroke and another putter is going to be better for the other kind of stroke. It's not correct. People talk about toe hang putters and they've used this term toe flow. Scotty Cameron uses the term toe flow all the time. What our device proves absolutely empirically is that there is no flow. The toe is not flowing. It's in fact doing the dead opposite of flowing. A toe hang putter is trying to shut on the way back and open on the way through. And if you read this stuff or listen to some of these people talk about it, they talk about a toe hang putter as though there's some, magical little elf inside the toe of a toe hang putter trying to help it open and then close. And there's just nothing valid about it. And what's so crazy is that everybody's bought into this narrative. And if you say something often enough and loud enough, eventually people start to believe it. And I'm talking some of the smartest minds in putting are preaching this very same, narrative about, certain putters working on certain types of stroke. What I have found is that for people who are struggling with their putting, the dead opposite of whatever they're using, they're going to perform better with. So, there's Sam Putt Lab, Science in Motion is a platform that people use to test putting mechanics and, really take a microscopic look at what's happening to the face and the shaft and the angle of attack and all that kind of stuff. And those who use Sam Putt Lab, I've been talking with a few of them lately. There's an entity out there that does custom fittings for people that use the SAM as their putter fitting platform. And I've been asking them, I'm like, how often do you have a customer come in with their own toe hang putter and get fit into a face balance putter, and vice versa? And they said way more often than not. Very rarely is somebody coming in with a toe hang putter and leave with a different toe hang putter. People react to torque. That's all it really is about. They react differently to different kinds of torque. And sometimes when you have enough scar tissue, because of the putts that you've missed, and your body is recognizing how that putter was torquing throughout the stroke, you just can't use it anymore. So you get something else with a completely different torque profile, and all of a sudden it feels good again.
We're talking to Sam Hahn, who is, what is your official title at Lab Golf?
I am the CEO.
Okay, we're talking to Sam Hahn, CEO of Lab Golf, and about these really fascinating putters, the Lab Golf putters, and we'll do more of that right after this word. This week on the Radio Baseball Cards podcast, we learn how catcher Lance Parrish was way ahead of baseball's culture when it came to respecting his body as a tool. Here's your host from 1987, the late Hall of Famer, Don Drysdale.
Here's another Radio Baseball Card. Lance Parrish respects his body as much as a good fastball. That's why one of his favorite hobbies is lifting weight.
My body is the only thing that I rightfully own, and sings that it's mine and mine alone.
That's the Radio Baseball Cards podcast. Short stories as told by the greatest baseball players of the 20th century. Radio Baseball Cards is free and available wherever you subscribe to your favorite podcasts. Sam, I just don't understand the concept of laying a putter across the tabletop and that determining which is a better putter for you and balancing. It's like, because the putter is never in that position when you're putting. So why is it being parallel to the ground sitting on a tabletop?
I don't know, Fred. It makes me feel like I'm taking crazy pills. That's exactly it. And like to the best of my ability, like I lay awake at night thinking about this crap, and I don't understand how it happened. And to the best that I can think of, as humans, we recognize what is up and what is down. That's innately in our body and in our brains. We know what is up and what is down. And somebody was bending a shaft and sticking the shaft in a different spot and this and that, and all of a sudden they got the face to go straight up. And that's something that we recognize. Okay, it's going straight up. That's different. It's not an arbitrary angle, like toe hang. So this must be good. This must mean it's square to something. And it's true. It's totally square to the sky. And it's awesome for sky putting. If you're putting directly up into the air, that is your putter. But what's crazy to me is that a face balance putter is every bit as arbitrary as a toe hang putter. There's nothing magical about it. It's different. It's definitely different. A face balance putter, from a torque perspective, in the playing position and throughout a stroke, it's trying to open really aggressively on the way back, and then open even a little bit more on the way through. And now that I know what I know about torque and have spent enough time with that revealer and really messing with these putters to see what they do, all of these things, like I just a tiny bit of background on me and my putting. I was a absolute neurotic when it came to putters. And before I came across Lab, which was called Directed Force at the time, I had literally 50 putters in my basement. And I'd bend them and I'd tweak them and I'd add lead tape and I'd regrip them and I'd do all these kind of crazy things. And for the 3 months prior to Lab, I had in fact made a commitment to intentionally switch putters every single round, even if I had putted well the round before, because I found that I was always putting better in discovery mode. I was always putting better when it felt different than it did the day before. And I would try to make the changes as monumental as possible. I'd go from a tiny little lightweight bullseye all the way to a giant, Bobby Grace mallet, just so that I could, be aware of the putter and aware of the differences. And one of the things that I always used to notice about face balance in particular was I would make these, what I felt like was a super soft, sweet stroke, and it would always just duck to the inside. And I'm like, most of us self-hating golfers was like, why do I suck so much? Like why am I so worthless? I'm positive I'm taking this thing straight back, and it's not going straight back. It's ducking to the inside and it's trying to open. And then, years later when I got onto the revealer and started to understand why, it's like, because that's what the putter's trying to do. It's physically what it's trying to do. So there's, they're all different. All putters are different. And I think that's why you see people typically very skeptical of putter technology, because all of our experiences with buying a new putter is, it's different. And it feels good today because it's fresh and it's new. And, but that's all it is. It's not like buying a driver where you can step on a machine and empirically see this thing's going 10 yards further, so it must be better. With putters, it's more subtle. And consequently, people are quite a bit more skeptical.
When you were playing a different putter every round, how do you control your lag putting? How do you control your distances with different feel for every putter?
I just got good at it. I mean, I have good hands.
Wow.
I have very good touch, and like I said, for me, like being in discovery mode, and being in a place where I was noticing the putter at the time was actually best for me. When I spent too much time with the putter, I guess what I noticed is that the next putt way too often was a reaction to the putt prior. And that's not a good place to be. And so, switching putters all the time worked for me then. At the time, that was the best place for me to be. And then when I discovered lie angle balancing, all of a sudden I didn't need to be aware of the putter anymore. Now I was able to be aware of my target, and things changed really, really quickly. I was bouncing between, like a 0 and a 2 handicap for the 7 or 8 years prior. 6 weeks after getting my first directed force putter, I was a plus 3.8. It was the lowest, best golf I've ever played in my life. Not even close. I mean, it was just a joke. I was just walking them in from 15 feet, and my chipping, like I kind of didn't care where I was chipping it, because just chip it to 10 feet. I'll get it in. It's not a problem.
Wow.
And then I got involved with the company and didn't get to practice and play nearly as much. So now I think I actually just as of last week, I think I am back into the plus realm, but yeah, I never struggle with my putting, that's for sure. And when I do struggle, like, it's never bad. I may not have every round be the most exceptional putting round ever, but it's never bad. Whereas there was times in the past where I would finish rounds putting with my wedge, because it was just so bad. I couldn't make anything.
There are few names that come to the forefront with any golfer, no matter what their skill level, when you talk about putters. And Scotty Cameron's name is probably way up there. And for some people, it's like, ooh, you have a Scotty Cameron putter. Oh, you really invested in your putter. Of course I have a Scotty Cameron. You just kind of disputed Scotty Cameron, the putter.
I 100% disputed Scotty Cameron, and I have no shame about it. And I would gladly have a conversation with Scotty anytime about, what it is that he thinks that he's selling. Here's what I'll say good about Scotty Cameron. When he first got his start, there was a lot to be said for the way that he was machining these putters. He is a skilled machinist. He really makes beautiful putters. They absolutely look wonderful. There is zero technology. There has never been a single element of technology put into his putters. And this is another thing that just is so wild to just watch the general golf consumer go around and round in circles trying to figure out which ping answer style putter they can spend $700 on. It's like, oh, here's a ping answer for $700 that says Bettinardi on it. And here's a ping answer for $2,000 that says Tyson Lamb on it. And here's a ping answer putter that's 19 cents at the Goodwill. And they're all the same. Sure, we got some nicer metals in there that they're working with these days. And now what's particularly infuriating about the craze of these, hand milled ping answers is that they're not hand milled. The reason that you're seeing so many people out there with all of these, boutique, little machined putters is because of, how accessible and reasonably priced a 5-axis CNC machine is. So anybody that knows how to do 3D modeling at this point with a very minimal education on machining can make a really beautiful ping answer. And, maybe they make the toe a little wider, or they make the steps a little bit more aggressive or whatever, but it's wild. They're all the same putter.
I'm so curious is that when you had all these putters in your garage and you were doing a different way, what was your criteria for selecting a putter? The way it looked when you were standing over it?
Absolutely. I mean,
is that how we all shop?
I'll tell you, one of the big deals for me, I suppose, a little bit more sophisticated than just, oh, this thing looks good, I'm stoked. I had been through a couple of Adele fittings, Dave Adele,
Sure.
Brilliant dude. I mean, absolutely brilliant guy. And what's interesting about it, I did 2 different Adele fittings about a year apart. They produced very, very different putters. But his whole focus is on aim. And at least through the process and reading Dave's research and all that stuff, I became pretty obsessed with aim. So that was the criteria. Yes, how it looks, how it does, whatever. But aiming was, when I would go to my local shop, is a place called Fiddler's Green up here in Eugene. Awesome store, big putter corral, and I'd bring a buddy and where am I pointing this one? Way left. Okay, that one's done. And the ones that laid down and sold out properly, that were pointed where I thought I was pointed, those were the ones that I gravitated towards.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using a Seymour putter for the last couple of years, and again, that was obsessed with aim, and
right.
I loved that about it. I loved that I could, feel confident that I'm going to be putting on the line that I'm directing it to, but if I hit it off center,
you're in trouble.
Not going there. I'm in trouble. That's not where it's
going. I mean, and then here's another thing that's going to screw you up. Where you aim your putter is not totally irrelevant, but kind of irrelevant outside of lab putters. With a normal conventional torquing putter, virtually nobody on tour aims a 6-foot putt, a straight 6-foot putt at the center of the hole. The vast majority of them are outside of their target line. The small minority are inside their target line. And guess who's the worst of all?
The ones who aim right at the... Oh.
Eldrick is the worst on tour. There's nobody that aims wider of their target. I don't know how recently he's been measured or whatever, but when he was getting fitted for the putter that he plays, the Elder Wand, that has the single dot on top of it. We are
talking about Tiger, right?
We are talking about Tiger Woods. Yes, he at the time that he was fitted for that putter, he was aiming everything right, and they couldn't figure out how to put some lines on a putter or do whatever in order to get him to aim straight. The fellow who fit him is a guy named Tim Brion. Tim is the CEO of TrueSpec, and so they would find some line arrangements that enabled him to aim at the target, and then he would miss all of his putts to the left. So Tim, being the sneaky bastard he is, puts a dot on there instead of a line, which he had, some of Dave Adele's research suggested that would actually get him to aim out to the right, which it did. So Tim put a putter in his hand that he aimed further to the right, and he started making putts. And that, again, goes back to that release we were talking about, that he always wants to feel like he's closing the putter through impact. So point being, one way or another, if you have a putter that torques, you are going to have to manipulate it through impact. So whether you're manipulating it from a properly aimed standpoint or a poorly aimed standpoint, you are still manipulating it. What I will say is that it's very, with conventional putters, it's very, very rare that you see somebody putt effectively aiming inside their target line, going shut to open. But very, very commonly what you do see is people that aim out wide and then throw the toe at it and manage to sink it up just in time.
So interesting. We're going to take another time out and be back after this. I want to get more into the putter talk and talk about the Lab Putters lie angle balance, the product that you guys are distributing right now and creating. But how did you get involved in this company?
It was pretty wild. So I live up here in Eugene, Oregon. The teaching pro at my course, Emerald Valley. We were just, messing around with my golf swing and hitting some balls. And then towards the end of the session, him knowing full well that I was a putter psycho, said, "Hey, can I show you something?" And he goes over to, I was like, "Sure." And he goes over to his bag and he pulls out, what at the time was, the Starship Enterprise. For those of you that haven't seen it, it is without question the most absurd looking putter in the world right now. It's ridiculous looking. And at the time, I was in like a pretty traditionalist phase. I was using a lot of bullseyes, 8802s, Napas, Newports, things like that. And, he pulls out this branding iron and I'm like, bro, no.
Your immediate reaction was like,
"Oh, hell no!"
I didn't want to try.
Like, no chance. There's no chance I'm using that thing. And he's like, just give me a minute here. Shut up. So he pulls out the revealer and shows me the demonstration, which is, it's compelling, man. I mean, if you haven't checked it out and you go to labgolf.com and see this video, it's compelling. I mean, you see right before your eyes a putter that is staying square by itself versus every other putter that doesn't. So I'll put a link in our show notes, but also on our blog post, I'll put that video. So if you'll find it at golfsmarter.com too. Great.
Go ahead.
And so, I grabbed a putter and I roll in a couple and I'm like, still like, okay, yeah, it's a nice putter. And he's like,
but you hated the look.
Just give me 9 holes. And I'm like, all right, Bob, I'll give you 9 holes. So I go out by myself. No joke, in actually what turned out to be 7 holes before I ran into a group and I didn't feel like waiting, I made about 170 feet worth of putts. I one-putted 7 greens in a row. Right off the bat. It was absolutely freaky. I mean, super, super, super freaky. And in addition to messing around with putters, I also messed around with stance and grip and all the kinds of stuff that I used to. And with this putter, I was like, like one hole I made it, using the claw grip. The next hole I made it using left hand low. So, I mean, it was nuts. It absolutely freaked me out. In retrospect, obviously there's some luck involved there. But it still was performing insanely well. Yeah. So I drive right to the clubhouse and I'm like, "Bob, what the F is this thing?" And he's like, "I told you." And meanwhile, like at the time, the company was called Directed Force. The logo was no good. The presentation of the product was no good. Like they just didn't look good. They looked cheesy. They looked like an infomercial product. And
this is all Bill Pressey's thing
at the time. Yeah, right? Bill was the head honcho at Directed Force, and he so. I'm like, all right, I'll buy one, and he pulls out this crazy fitting putter and we fit me up and he's like, okay, $400. And I'm like, what are you talking about? $400? This thing's like a Kmart toy. And whatever, I paid the $400. All my friends are making fun of me for buying the spaceship for $400. And then I got it. And there's some relatively interesting stuff in between there, but we'll skip over that and go to about 3 months later. The head got loose on the putter. The head came loose. And so I had to send it back. And Bill reached out personally to apologize. And we just got to talking on the phone and we just had a bunch of stuff in common and looked at the game in the same way and looked at putting in the same way. And then also, or I shouldn't say I looked at putting at the same way. Bill blew my mind with putting and just dropping these just nuggets of these bombs of wisdom on me every 2 minutes that blew my mind over and over again. We became friends and became Facebook friends, and I became one of his Facebook soldiers, preaching the value of lie angle balance all over the web. And then a few months after that, the company was just about kaput. It had failed to, gain any steam. They had no tour credibility. Just the marketing didn't go great. Manufacturing wasn't awesome. I wasn't the only head that fell off. And so things were looking pretty bleak. And, but just given my experience and what I had been going through, with my game, I knew there was an opportunity there. So effectively I was in the right place at the right time and asked Bill if there might be an opportunity to partner with him and, maybe buy out the existing guys and let them out of the deal. And that's what we did.
And you didn't come from the golf industry, or you?
No,
did?
not at all. Not at all. No, I've been in the bar and music business for 20 years. I've been, I was a talent buyer for a long time. I booked for a few different venues, worked for a few different festivals. And then 7 years before I got involved with Lab, I opened up my own bar venue here in Eugene, which I still have. But in the meantime, because all that work that I had been doing for the past 20 years was at night, I was a total golf nut. I mean, it wasn't like I'm nobody from nowhere. I mean, I studied the game like crazy. I mean, crazy. So I had more than no understanding of golf and putting and putters. I got a knack for marketing and I could see so clearly what needed to happen, and how this, needed to get marketed and needed to get branded. And but yeah, I mean, I
you believed in the product
with every ounce of my being. And that's what's, I tell people all the time, like, there's a company out of Georgia called Strokes Gained. They make these beautiful answer style, milled putters. And if the same opportunity for a quarter the price had popped up, to partner with a company like Strokes Gained, and I remember thinking this because we were next to them at the PGA show that following year, I never would have done it. I never even would have thought to do it. But in my mind, given the experiences that I'd had with every other putter in the world, and then seeing what this had done for my game and seeing it so that I can't even use other putters anymore. They feel like snakes to me. They feel crazy. This struck me as like, this is going to change golf. This is going to be the standard of putting. Torque fitting players for their putters. Ours are torque free. That's the way that we make them. But there's the potential to take our technology starting from where we're starting and even add a little bit of torque here and there, depending upon what you think you might need, for your stroke. So this is the future. What I didn't realize is that the golfing world, surprise, surprise, was not as enthusiastic as I was. So it's been a grind, getting people to believe and getting people to get over the same hesitance that I had. If it wasn't Bob handing me that putter, somebody that I knew and sort of, had somewhat of a moral obligation to at least try it, given that he was asking. It's not anything I ever would have picked up in a putting shop. I would have laughed at it. I would have thought it was an infomercial product. So yeah, making believers out of people is.
Hey, watch what you say about infomercial products. Your 2-minute video is definitely an infomercial.
We tried really hard to make it not look like that.
No, but it's really good and it's really compelling. It's really compelling. And I want to talk about why directed force, what's it called, but we'll take another time out and then we'll come right back.
Sure.
Thank you for subscribing to the Golf Smarter podcast. With 761 episodes now in our library, we've provided golfers of all skill levels around the world with instruction that, according to your reviews and emails, have had a significant impact on your enjoyment and success in this game. Not sure if you found Golf Smarter on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon, or any of the other great podcast aggregators. But what took me a long time to discover is that whatever app you're listening to right now, they don't carry more than 250 to 300 episodes of any show. Well, we have 400 plus episodes in our library that you can't find anymore. And that's why we've introduced Golf Smarter Mulligans, your second chance to gain insight and advice from the best instructors featured on Golf Smarter. This week, we bring back a conversation with Chuck Quinton to discuss whether the one-plane or the two-plane swing is best for you.
At the end of the day, everybody's just trying to get the club back out in front of the body at impact. That's the goal of a repeatable golf swing, is to bring it down on plane and in the proper positions. Both golfers, a one-planer and a two-planer, do those in two very different ways. The two-planer at impact will have his arms much more in front of his body, almost as if his hands were in front of his chest. That's his goal at impact, is to bring the club back in front of his body, using his arms to get his arms and hands in front of his chest. Now, one planer is going to have his body much more open at impact, where his hips and shoulders and chest have actually rotated, and they're almost facing more down the target line at impact, and his arms and hands are actually still back behind him, as if his hands were back by kind of his right pocket at impact. And that's the classic images you see of Hogan and Snead.
That's episode 77 of Golf Smarter Mulligans, featuring Chuck Quinton of RotarySwing.com, being released this Friday. Both Golf Smarter and Golf Smarter Mulligans are free and available wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Please subscribe, and when you do, you'll receive brand new episodes of each automatically when they become available. Sam, I just don't understand what is directed force? Why would Bill initially call it directed force putters versus, and you going with lab, which lie angle balance, I think is a great name.
Yeah.
So
So
what does
directed force
means?
Directed force, and I'm probably going to screw this up, and hopefully you get a chance to get Bill on your show because he'll blow your mind.
I would love to. I would love to. Thank you.
And but it's a physics term. So in effect, the entire force of the putter is directed. Again, if you go to the revealer and see what it's doing, the physical, the torque force of other putters, using a toe hang putter, for instance, the heel of the putter on the way back is going on the way back, and the toe's getting left behind. So there's no direction to the force of the entirety of the face. And then on the way through, from a torque and physics standpoint, on both of the other types of conventional putters, the toe is actually working away from the target. The physics are trying to get the toes trying to open while you're pushing the toes trying to go backwards while you're trying to go forwards, which is why when you hit it off the toe, putts come off weak because there isn't as much directional force behind it. So as is with the case of our putter, the entire face is moving together in symmetry, directionally forced in the direction that it's on. Like I said, I'm sure I screwed that all up, and Bill will be able to lay it out a little bit more cleanly for you. But the net effect of that is that because the whole putter face is moving together in the same direction, the mishits on our putters they're not mishits. Particularly with the mallet putter, you can literally hit the ball anywhere on the putter face, anywhere, and you will not have any directional dispersion, and you will not have virtually any loss of speed whatsoever.
With claims like that, and with the revealer showing that your putter is the only one that stays online when you have it in the correct orientation, meaning you're standing next to it, why, I guess at this point, are you the only guys doing this? Why have not the major manufacturers, the more boutique guys? There's so many putter companies. There's so many guys making putters. How come you guys are the only ones with this concept going?
So we're not.
So far?
We're not. We have taken the concept way further than anybody else has, by a lot. But no, there's quite a few other companies out there that are all starting to explore torque as the culprit in putting. The winningest example out there is Axis One. That's the putter that Justin Rose plays. Axis has been around for a long time. They've been around almost 10 years now. They recently have done a very good job of sort of making their putters look a bit more conventional. They used to be really, really odd looking, not similar in look to ours, but similarly unusual. They had this crazy hosel that stuck way out in front of the putter face. So, it almost kind of looked like you could shank a putter. But they balanced toe up. So the other people that have sort of touched on torque in the way that we have, they think that the end of the game, again, because they're looking at it from a perspective of what does it do when it's laying flat, on a table or with the shaft parallel, they think that toe up means that it's balanced to go that way. And what toe up means is that it's very likely torque reduced, but definitely not torque free. And again, with the revealer, I can prove it. But there's other examples out there. There was actually a putter that was, for a couple technical reasons, slightly outside of what our patent protects. But do you remember the plop from back in the day? Some people may remember a putter called the plop. The plop standard for the putting laws of physics. And it was similar to a bullseye shape and a center shafted blade. It looked somewhat similar to the blade version of our putter. This was late 80s, early 90s. There was also the positive putter. This thing was damn near lie angle balance. And then some of the more modern iterations would include Axis One for sure. Odyssey made a short toe up line, and then also they have the backstrike putter. Some of you guys may have seen the Odyssey backstrike, which has a shaft that sort of curves towards the rear of the putter. So it is a toe up putter and is also torque reduced. But there's some elements that have them falling short. The other, what I would consider a competitor, again, back to David Dell. David Dell, being as smart as he is, definitely recognized that torque is an issue. And he has a line of putters called his Torque Balanced. So he's also pretty close to toe up. This one's slightly toe open. And the jury's still out on how much torque matters. Dave says toe up is about as good as you need to go. And a little torque won't hurt anybody. Our feeling is, yeah, it will. So we've totally eliminated it. And there's other drawbacks. What's that?
Yeah, unfortunately, this industry is such that what you see amateurs playing with is what they've seen on TV. And right. I've recently witnessed that in the putter world, especially. Just out of nowhere, in one of the recent majors, I kind of took notes for a couple holes on how many guys are playing mallets and how many guys are playing blades. And it used to be the blades was all you ever saw. And now right. I think I saw one out of the 10 guys I was watching that day, one that was playing with a blade putter.
Yeah, I think the reason that you're seeing that now is, again, back to that toe hang versus face balance. Generally, your more skilled players are going to do better with a toe hang putter, and it really wasn't until 3 or 4 years ago that manufacturers started making mallets with toe hang. They all used to have a double bend and be face balanced putters, and then all of a sudden, I don't know who did it first. I'm assuming it was TaylorMade started putting a flow neck or plumber's necks on mallet style putters. So now guys are getting the best of both worlds. They're getting these mallets that are, big and easy to line up, ever so slightly more forgiving, but still have a torque profile that works for their skill set.
Yeah, the one that seems to be the most popular and it's generating sales, a buddy of mine that I'm playing with, he was all excited. He found one on eBay, is the Spider putter. Was that TaylorMade?
Yeah.
And it's, first of all, I like center shafted putters, which is, I'm so glad that the Lab golf putters are center shafted. But with a big head like that coming and the shaft being in the toe, it just seemed like there'd be a lot of movement if you don't hit it perfectly square, or I guess you're supposed to.
There's movement throughout the stroke. You've mentioned hitting it perfectly square a few times, and I do want to dispel a misnomer about putters and how they work. So unless we're talking about a putt from 70, 80, 90 feet where you're actually compressing the golf ball, the ball is long gone before the putter face deflects open. There's a few larger OEMs out there, larger manufacturers that have done a really good job of marketing MOI as it relates to forgiveness on off-center strikes. And what they say is, basically the bigger the putter, the higher the MOI, the less out to the right your ball is going to go when you hit it off the toe. The ball does not go to the right because you hit it off the toe. You hit it off the toe because the face was open or because your path was, across it or whatever it is. So they've convinced us that that's the case, but there's any number of high-speed camera studies that have been done that you can hit a putt anywhere on the face, and you're not losing directional. You're not losing direction. What you do lose is speed. You lose crazy amounts of speed the further away that you get from the center of the putter. And yes, the bigger the putter, the less speed you're going to lose. But the trade-off is that the bigger the putter, the higher the torque value. So what's funny to me is that the putters that are advertised as the most stable, at least from a torque perspective, are actually the least stable.
Interesting. I know we're running tight on time here. You got to run. So tell me about the fitting process.
So the fitting process, we got two options. One, you can get fit in person. And two, we have a incredible, ridiculously accurate, very easy remote fitting process that you can do right through our website.
I was blown away at how simple it was and that it was accurate.
And your putter fit, didn't it? You laid it down, the thing laid perfectly flush. Yeah. I mean, it's awesome. And so what's cool about our putter fitting is that because rather than, forcing people to micromanage this aspect and that aspect and all of the stuff, what we've done is we've eliminated the need to, get super nitty gritty on, loft and length and all this stuff, because all of that stuff is done in an effort to fight torque. So when you eliminate torque, all that really matters is comfort. So with our putter and our remote fitting process, you watch the video, there's a specific spot we want you standing in your house. And the direction is pick a putter in your garage that has the most comfortable length, that has you just standing how you want to stand. And if the putter didn't matter, if you weren't looking at the head and seeing it toe up or toe down or whatever it is, how would you putt? If you could putt any way you wanted, what is the most comfortable way that you can putt? You send in a video, we analyze the video, and make our recommendations accordingly. We explain, pretty briefly what it is, but it's really easy. And a lot of the times, I think people are intimidated and somewhat overwhelmed at the idea of getting fit for a putter, and the experience isn't great. I mean, there's pressure, you got this guy who you don't know, who is sitting there judging your crappy stroke and which then gets you thinking, how should I putt? Am I doing this right? And, with our remote fitting, you're in the comfort of your own home. Nobody's looking at you funny. You do what you do, and check out the reviews and stuff. I mean, the remote fitting, it works. We have no complaints about the putters that people are getting sent having done the remote fitting.
Right. And beyond the unique, let's just keep it at that, beyond the unique look of the head, you also have a unique
Fred,
shaft.
you're too kind. You are too kind, my friend.
You have a unique shaft. You built a forward pressy into it, or is that
a forward press? So that's in the grip, not the shaft.
That's the grip.
It's the grip.
Okay.
Yes, the grip is bore at an angle. Yep, it's the shaft in yours is a standard KBS Tour shaft. It's a same shaft you're going to see in most OEMs, but the grip, is definitely very unusual. So it has a built-in forward press, which, by the way, will work on any putter. You can put that grip on any putter and probably see some pretty promising results. Most people add loft through impact. Most people like to see shaft lean, but they don't like to put their hands in a position that creates shaft lean. So now you can put our grip on your putter at home. Your hands feel like they're perpendicular to the ground. The grip is vertical, and you still have now 3 degrees of forward press built in. You're going to roll the ball better pretty much instantly, unless you're somebody who already has a pronounced forward press and drives the ball down to the ground. You're going to love this grip. But yes, the press grip was invented as an ergonomic benefit to the way that we get the putters to balance. So the way we get them to balance is about where we stick the shaft. So as you'll notice in your mallet, it's in the center of the putter. It's in the dead center of mass of the whole putter. Well, that can be pretty awkward to have a face that's a couple inches in front of the shaft, whereas most of the putters we use, the face is slightly behind the shaft. So you got a face that's now in front of the shaft, which is awkward. So what Bill did that was so genius was he leaned the shaft forward so that now the top of the shaft, 35 inches above the head, is right above the face like it would be on any putter. But now that's awkward too, because we don't want a shaft leaning forward. So then to counteract that, he made the press grip, which then leans backwards. So now your hands are directly over the top of the face, just like they would be on any other putter. You get all the benefits of sticking a shaft in the center of mass. And you get the visual of a shaft leaning forward, which typically encourages people to sort of have that more positive angle of attack.
I am absolutely convinced that you have got the attention of a lot of Golf Smarter listeners out there and a lot of Golf Smarter ambassadors who tell other people.
Here's
How
hoping.
do we get, how do we get these putters in their hands?
Labgolf.com. So if you're looking to touch and feel, at the very top of the home page, there's a button for fitting. And under there, you'll see a button for fitting locations. And we got a big old map. So you click on your location or put in your zip code, and it's going to tell you who's got them near you. We're still working on getting them out there. So they're not in every corner of the globe just yet. If you go and look at all the videos and you're convinced enough and ready to take the plunge, you can do the remote fitting through the website and then purchase directly through the website. You'll also see we have a ridiculous amount of custom options. We got 4 different colors. We have 36 plus different line alignment configurations for the mallet. We have some different grip options. We have a number of different shaft options, length, lie, anything you can think of. Broomstick, arm lock, we do all of it. So you can do it directly through the website. And or go see a local fitter. We're in all the PGA Tour Superstores. We're in about a third of the club champions out there, and hopefully more to come.
How'd you get into the PGA Superstores? That's a coup. That's really good.
Yeah, I had to kill someone, actually.
Okay, fine. Well,
yeah,
we won't go in.
Yeah,
that's
they
a different podcast.
Yeah, we'll put you in, but you gotta fly to Florida and do a thing for us. That was
okay.
That was
it's fine. Also, I have to thank you very much because you've offered the Golf Smarter community a 15% discount with the checkout code Golf Smarter.
It is absolutely my pleasure, and your listeners are exactly the type of folks that we like. Golfing Smarter is exactly what we offer. That's the opportunity that we offer. This is just smarter. In one hand is a putter that stays square by itself, and in the other hand is one that doesn't. Which one do you want? Which one is a smarter choice? And I'm really excited about this opportunity you gave me here, and love to come back sometime, and we'll certainly get Bill on the show to blow your mind too.
I'll put the video of Sam showcasing the Revealer on today's blog post at golfsmarter.com. Again, they're offering the Golf Smarter community a very generous 15% discount on either one of their directed force putters from Lab Golf. Just make sure that you use Golf Smarter at labgolf.com when you check out. That's Lab, L-A-B, like laboratory, labgolf.com. Now, what he didn't mention is that our next giveaway is going to be a DF 2.1 from Lab Golf. What a great way to feel the difference that is immediately recognizable when you line this putter up. Registration's open right now at golfsmarter.com. Just click on the Enter Now banner at the top of the page. Deadline to enter is Sunday, October 18, 2020, midnight Pacific time, 3 a.m. Eastern. We'll announce the winner on episode 763 in just 2 weeks. Good luck to you. But back in 2016, if you were listening, then you may remember episode 533 when we met Bo Links and heard of his efforts to save Sharp Park. It's a historic Alistair McKenzie designed course just south of San Francisco in Pacifica, California. Well, last week, I finally drove down to Pacifica and played Sharp Park. It's a beautiful course that is inches away from the ocean, but you can only hear the waves breaking. You can't see the water. Even though it's run by the city of San Francisco, the conditions are nowhere close to what we recently saw at Harding Park. The greens, they were in poor condition, but the rest of the course was fine, and we were very lucky that it was a warm, windless day because knowing that area, it's probably a really different course when the weather is windy and foggy, which is what Pacifica is known for. I met this wonderful older gentleman on the practice putting green who's been a member there since the 70s, and overall, I'll say that I'm looking forward to playing it again. It was a fun course. Definitely, it's one of those things like, oh, no, if I knew that about the hole, I wouldn't have played it that way. So, again, Sharp Park, historic Sharp Park in San Francisco, Alistair McKenzie design. It was a winner. I can't wait to go back. Also received an email this week from a listener who said that he heard the same political ad numerous times in one episode. And let me just tell you something about the advertising that we do here. I have no control of what ads, unless I'm reading them, I have no control of what ads that are being dynamically inserted into the episode and that are posted geographically, which means that the ads you may hear in North Carolina are not the same ads you'll hear in Northern California or Wisconsin. Right? All I can say is that the election ads will be over in a couple weeks, so please keep listening and be patient. I hope it doesn't impact your enjoyment of our content. And lastly, let me say that no matter what your political persuasion is or whether you follow politics or even the news, please vote this year. Oh, you've been waiting long enough. It's time to tell you who won the new custom fit 257 plus fairway medal from Knuth Golf. Yes, it's time to announce a winner. Congratulations go out to Colorado Springs, Colorado, and a resident there named June Gaston. Congratulations, June. I am so excited that the last 3 winners have been women. That must only mean that more and more women are listening to Golf Smarter, and I truly appreciate your support, because when this show started, we had about 10 women and 110 guys. You know what I'm saying? It was pretty lopsided, but I think it's getting more open because more and more women are listening to podcasts now. And again, I truly appreciate your support. Now, June, I'm going to email you and copy Steve from Knuth Golf so that he can get your specs to fit you into the right club for your game. To learn more, please visit knuthgolf.com, Knuth, knuthgolf.com, and help support not only our partners, but also the incredible independent club makers like Dean and today's guest, Sam, that want to make you a better, smarter golfer. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for products or guests, just click on the Hey Fred button at golfsmarter.com.